When people think of early country guitar, they often imagine a handful of simple chords casually strummed on a porch. But looking closely at the technique of the genre's defining players reveals a highly challenging, virtuosic discipline. In the early decades of the 20th century, the acoustic guitar in rural string bands served a strict, limiting function. It sat in the background, keeping a steady rhythm while the fiddle and banjo took the lead. This arrangement was driven by physical necessity. The standard acoustic guitar simply lacked the raw volume and cutting high frequencies required to project over the sharp, piercing tone of a fiddle or the percussive ring of a banjo. So, how does an instrument physically trapped in the rhythm section reinvent its mechanics to step forward as a commanding solo voice? Overcoming that limitation required decades of intense cross-pollination and mechanical adaptation across multiple distinct styles of American music. The first major mechanical shift arrived in the 1940s with the birth of bluegrass. Band leaders demanded that the guitar step up to the microphone to deliver rapid-fire solos right alongside the fiddle. To meet that demand, players developed a physical approach utilizing a thick plectrum or flat pick paired with a large, resonant dreadnought acoustic guitar. This technique relies on a rigorous, continuous up and down alternating motion. Players utilize a fluid wrist action to execute complex streams of eighth notes, maintaining a steady rhythmic drive at tempos that frequently exceed 200 beats per minute. By applying mechanical precision, flat pickers turn the dreadnought from a quiet background rhythm box into a driving melodic engine. While bluegrass was developing, a parallel movement emerged in the dance halls of Texas and Oklahoma. Western swing players adopted early hollow-body archtop guitars, bridging the gap between acoustic resonance and the new technology of electrical amplification. This diagram illustrates how increased volume allowed players to experiment harmonically. Because they no longer had to play forcefully just to be heard, guitarists abandoned basic three-note triads and adopted sophisticated big band jazz harmonies, incorporating ninths, thirteenths, and diminished passing chords. Electrical volume shifted the logic of their solo construction. Instead of mimicking the rhythmic shuffle of traditional fiddle melodies, Western guitarists began executing long, linear, chromatic single-note lines designed to emulate the improvisational phrasing of jazz saxophones and trumpets. By pulling direct inspiration from big band arrangements, Western swing proved that rural dance music and sophisticated urban jazz could intersect without conflict. This harmonic complexity deepened further in the mid-century with the popularization of Travis picking, a solo fingerstyle approach directly rooted in traditional African-American blues fingerpicking. This hand breakdown illustrates the technique's two distinct functions. The thumb strikes a steady, alternating bass pattern on the lower strings, like a piano's left hand. Simultaneously, the index and middle fingers independently play syncopated melodies on the treble strings. Guitarists like Chet Atkins refined this hand independence even further. Heavily influenced by jazz, he injected advanced chord scale relationships and intricate passing tones into these traditional alternating picking patterns. Because the thumb covers the rhythm section and the fingers cover the melody, a single player can outline complete harmonic arrangements without ever sacrificing their steady rhythmic drive. In the 1950s and 60s, players working in the studios of Nashville and the honky-tonks of Bakersfield adopted the solid-body electric guitar. These session players faced a new benchmark. They wanted to capture the weeping, microtonal slides characteristic of the pedal steel guitar, a mechanically complex instrument operated with a series of foot pedals and knee levers. To replicate those shifting intervals on a standard fretboard, players developed the technique of behind-the-nut bending. They would strike a chord and manually press the string down near the tuning pegs to raise the pitch in the middle of a progression. They also developed a percussive articulation known as chicken pickin'. This requires precise synchronization between the flat pick, the fingers, and aggressive left-hand muting to produce a sharp, snapping attack where the note is choked almost the instant it sounds. The solid-body electric guitar offered sharp new tones, but more importantly, it forced players to develop mechanical approaches to control articulation and manipulate pitch. The evolution of the country and Western guitar traces a continuous path of adaptation. It pulled driving physical precision from bluegrass, absorbed harmonic sophistication from big band jazz, and developed new mechanical articulations during the Electric era. The resulting vocabulary is a direct reflection of the fluid, cross-pollinating boundaries of American music throughout the 20th century. The result of this compounding synthesis is a virtuosic tradition defined by a specialized, multifaceted mastery of the guitar's mechanics. This was brought to you by Notes and Silences. Thank you for listening.